Welcome to practice. My name is Selena Garofino. It's a little darker than normal today. I'm in a different space and I just don't have all my lighting equipment, but I was in the mood to film a class for you. And so here we are, and we're going to make it work. If you're interested in deepening your studies with me or continuing, I offer a ton of online and in-person programs and retreats all around the world, and I would love to meet you. Including a 200-hour teacher training that gives you lifetime access to bi-monthly calls with me. Twice a month we gather, bi-weekly, twice a month we gather, and I offer free coaching and breath practices, and we hang out, and it's really special, and I would love to welcome you to our community. So the practice today, if you know me, you know that I'm an oral storyteller and an anthropologist, and I've been playing with a body of work, of stories around what it is to cultivate something that is all your own, to walk the path that is all yours. If the path is already there, it's not yours. And walking our own path and carving our way is the hero's journey. It can be tremendously difficult, and it's also the most beautiful and wonderful thing. There is this old story about this maiden who, she's a princess. She comes from a royal palace, and she has access to these tremendous and beautiful orchards. And yet every day, because she is, I don't want to use the word lazy, but she tends to take whatever is easy and most available. And she doesn't put out too much effort, and she certainly doesn't do anything where she would risk herself in any way. And because of that, her habit is to go into the orchard and gather the apples that are on the ground. Not rotten apples, but just the apples that have already fallen. She doesn't climb the tree. She doesn't nurture anything. She just picks the apples that are on the ground. And this goes on for a very long time, that she's just picking up the apples that are there and nourishing herself enough. They're not the best apples, but they're okay. And one day, out of the moldy foliage, I can always, even when I'm describing that, I can smell an apple orchard in the late summer, early fall. Out of those golden, moldy orchard leaves and the rotting apples, and then the ones that have freshly fallen, arises an old crone. And the old crone looks at the girl and waves her hand, and the entirety of the orchard disappears. And the crone tells the maiden, you can have everything you want. You can have the most glorious apples you've ever had in your life. But they will only be fresh from now on. And you must learn to grow them from a seedling and to nourish them. And in that very moment, the fire of the heart is lit in this young woman. The desire of her heart is lit in that moment. The spell of boredom and lack of awe and falling asleep to her life, she snapped out of it. And she begins to cultivate something that is all her own. She begins to put breath into something that is going to not only nourish her, but nourish others. There's a story on my Substack called Marinella and Her Little Goat that I invite you to go listen to. And it's a similar sort of wonder tale in that she ends up having to plant the heart of something beloved to her in order to grow this pomegranate tree. And when the pomegranate tree grows, no one can climb it to pass the fruit out except for her, because it's something that came from her own heart. And because she's able to pick it herself, when she gives it to others, they're gold and silver and the most nourishing pomegranate that you could ever imagine. And both of those stories remind me of Cinderella and the shoe that would only fit her, that only belonged to her after her adventure tale. Each of us has a duty, an obligation, and a privilege to live and to live fully, to carve a path out for ourselves that is all our own, to follow the desires of our hearts, and to create something magnificent And when you do that, when you take your suffering and your pain and your joy and your experiences and you alchemize those deep personal things, it comes back out of you as poetry into the ocean that we all share, and it becomes something that nourishes everyone. And it's something that cannot be taken from you. And it is our duty to live in this way and then to tell the bare bones truth about our lives to guide the next generation. And so as we just move through a simple practice today, I just want to plant this little apple seedling in you of what is it that you are cultivating in your life that belongs to only you, that you will then be able to share outward into the world. And how are you nourishing those tender possibilities within yourself, those little seedlings of potential? As we drift away from the things that we most desire and our core giftings and whatnot, that's when we become numb. And that's when we lose our awe and things become very diminished. We become diminished. And this is my invitation to you, is to start dancing with that wild part of yourself that knows exactly what is going to be most potent for you. So with that, we're going to open up our potential and we're going to play with sliding the memory off of our back. So let's come to all fours. We'll play with the Katonah dialogue today. So when you arrive on all fours, take your hands directly underneath of your shoulders and your knees directly underneath of your hips, and then spin your hands in so your middle fingers are touching. If you have any rings on, you might want to take them off. And then pivot on the heel of the index finger and the thumb so the middle fingers are pointing forward. And make sure that you have 90 degrees again, knee to hip and wrist to shoulder. And then spread the tops of your feet so that you have really good contact to the earth. Gently lift off at the center of the palm. And we'll start to move some breath and put a little wave through the spine. We're going to start slow. So when you're ready, start to cat-cow the spine gently. But I really want you to make this movement come from the lower body, from the ground of being. So rather than handling the lower body and the wave through the spine, let it originate from the tail. And start to pump the breath and do this just a little bit faster so that you're starting to sort of put the key in the ignition of this body that is your personal vehicle. In, out, in, out. You might even start to pump the breath like a Bastrika's breath, using the feet to anchor you. In, out, in, out. Good, just another moment here. Sometimes you might get a little dizzy here, get a little flippant, get a little bit reckless, play with the heat in the body, the movement of the breath, and then pause in the center of yourself. Very good. Now take your right wrist and pivot it all the way around. And I mean all the way around. This might be uncomfortable. It's not dangerous. And as we open up the joint of the wrist, what we're doing is opening up the collarbone and the neck, which allows you to receive more of your breath in this Katonah dialogue. We're bringing the lungs forward. So think of your right collarbone like the right window of your house, and widen your right collarbone out to its own side. And then lift off the center of your palm and see if you can find a little bend in the right elbow. And now I want you to make a circle around that wrist, around that shoulder. And we're going to sandbag ourselves with our own body weight. So if you wish and you want to make a little more sensation here, plant your left palm on the back of your right hand and then go around yourself. I will link the Substack down in the comments so that you can listen to that story, Marinella and her goat, if you wish. It's a beautiful story from Tuscany. Spin around. If there's a lot of sensation here, it's all the more important that you attune to your breath so that you don't leave the building that is your body. We want to take the body with us into our spiritual experiences, into our aha moments. Very good. Another moment here. Opening the potential, the lungs. And then pause in the center and lean back a little bit. And now this is optional. If you're feeling a little frisky, lift your bum up in the air and take a down dog with this flip wrist. Continue to take the right shoulder, right collarbone out to its own side, a bend in the knees, buttock bones high. And then lower the knees down. Listen, this is very sensational. Just plug the right palm in like a live wire. The sensation will dissipate very quickly. Nice job. And now take your left wrist and flip it all the way around. And make sure that you're still shoulder distance apart. It's really easy to start bringing the hands closer together. Lift off the center of the palm a little bit. You might even play and see if you're able to lift up your fingers. Make sure that you're not sort of death gripping in the fingers. And then widen your left collarbone out to its own side. And then go around. And look ever so slightly out to your future. When you drop the head, the back becomes a ball. So we want to stay out of the roundedness of the back. And into this, again, a sensation and idea of bringing the lungs forward. So go around. We're spinning around to the left now, which is towards the lunar part of yourself. It's all those giftings and proclivities that you showed up on the planet with. And that's the piece of ourselves that is the little seedling of potential that we want to breathe life into and grow our own apple orchard from. This thing that in time will nourish not only ourselves, but everyone else. And the story of the orchard and the trees will live for generations, teaching the next how to live and how to cultivate. Good. Spin around. And then again, let's sandbag with our own body weight. The left hand, so bring your right palm on the back of the left hand and go around for another moment. Sort of using yourself as your own prop. Very good. And then pause in the center and again, lean back, little micro bend in the elbow. And if you wish, the down dog, buttock bones high, a bend in the knees, a wave through the spine. Receiving your breath. And then lower the knees back down. Flip the left hand back forward. We're going to do a little more sort of uncomfortable wrist work. I'm sorry, but I'm also not sorry. It's so good for you. Interlace your fingers at the webbing and plop them on the ground. Now, you might not all be able to get all the way into this position today, and that's okay. I'm going to turn towards you. Here now, you're going to come onto the backs of your hands, and my knees are quite close to my hands. So my thumbs are pointing towards you right now. If you're facing me, your thumbs will be facing me. And now come up on your thumbs so your palms are facing me. And this is the part where you might resist it. You're going to keep flipping till the thumbs are facing your knees and the palms are inside out. And then find a little bend in the elbows. And if your hands aren't all the way down, that's okay. If they are all the way down, bring your knees up right to that little spot between the index finger and the thumb, and then gently pull the knees apart, spreading that joint and that skin. This isn't super comfortable, but I swear in time it becomes like a massage for the wrists. It opens up everything. And then try not to round your back, broaden the collarbones, and then bring your knees all the way up on top and send your seat back towards your heels. A sort of delirious smile can help here. Nice big breath. Another moment here. Very good. Crawl out of there. Unravel everything, and then we're going to go right into the other side. So now you're going to put the hand on top that you don't normally put on top. It'll feel really strange. Same thing, back of the hands, up on the thumbs, and then turn it inside out. So my index fingers and thumbs are facing me. My forearms are facing away from me, and then I'm going to crawl my knees forward. You do the same, and nestle your knees in between thumb and index finger. And send your heels back. Your buttock bones back to your heels and spread the knees apart ever so slightly. So good. I'm cracking open the potential, moving out of memory. When we get stuck only wanting to pick the rotten apples up off of the ground or what's already there, to walk the path that's already there, it's oftentimes because we have decided, walk the knees forward onto your hands, that the things that we want, that the deep callings of our own hearts, along the way we've decided that it's not for us, that it's a nice idea, but it's not possible. And we're afraid to set out on the path of growing a personal orchard because if we did, we might fail. Or if we did, there's so much work that has to be done. And if we just hold the dream of it instead of enacting it, it's still like a possibility lingering. But I'm asking you to risk it and to really grow something rather than eating off of the ground. Good. Pull the knees back off of the hands, unravel that, and just plug the hands into the ground. I know it's very, very sensational, and come back to a downward facing dog. Distract yourself a little bit. Bend one knee and the other. Just starting to walk through the legs. I promise that sensation will dissipate quite quickly. And for a moment, straighten the legs. Feel how that gently rounds the lower back and stretches the calves. Can feel really nice. You might even put a little more weight like a cat into one foot and then the other. And then come a little more up on the balls of the feet. Bend the knees so you're in the hip crease. Lengthen your buttock bones up and back. Good, and then shoot yourself forward to a plank. And then fold at the hip, back to the down dog. And do that, I don't know, maybe 5 to 10 times. And move the breath through the form. Last time. Very good. Hold the down dog again. Super nice. Lower down onto your knees once again and sit back on your heels with your toes curled under. We're going to open up the feet a little bit and then we'll move a lot more. If this is really painful for you, you can modify by putting something under your butt, putting something under your knees. We're going to interlace the fingers, take the palms up to the sky, and then just move around yourself. Find your breath. Wiggle out those ribs. Maybe distracting yourself from the sensation in your feet. So good for you. And then switch sides. Switch which hand is on top. The weird way. Always moving out of our habituations. Every time we practice habituating ourselves to something nourishing, it's a place we'll go more automatically rather than towards our maybe less than ideal habituations. Very good. Bring your hands down now. Just whack the tops of the feet on the ground. Good. And now sit back on your heels. Have a block nearby. And first things first, pick up your right knee. Bring your right hand like a ball and a mitt to the right knee and start to just crack open the top of that right foot. So good. And then go over to the other side. We talk about in Katonah Yoga, the top of the foot being like your back. And anytime we're dealing with the back, it's memory. So we're cracking open memory. And when we use memory well, it becomes like a bow and arrow for where we're going rather than dead weight. Go back and forth a little bit, one and then the other. And then some of you might be able to grab both of your knees and lift up both knees at once. The sort of easier way is to angle a block like this and just put your knees on the block and then grab palms of hands to knees to stretch the top of the feet, like so. And if you want to go even higher, you bring the block up on its second highest height and sit back and stretch the tops of the feet and open up your chest. It's a little intense, big breath. It's my job, come out of there, to take you into rooms in your house that you don't like to go on your own. The more pieces of yourself that you access, the more of you you own, and the more of you you can use, and the more of you can explore. Let's come back to down dog again. There might be a lot of sensation in the feet, so wiggle around, whatever you need to do. Very good. And then walk your feet forward to your hands to a hang. And separate your feet hip distance. Measure 2 fists between the arches. Take opposite palm to opposite elbow and hang over your legs. Take your pinky edges of your feet parallel to the mat, so you're almost a tiny bit pigeon-toed. Send your thighs forward to your belly. Drop the crown of the head towards the floor. Buttock bones high. And feel all of that contact with yourself. An image, maybe all of those memories that have been like dead weight just sort of pouring down the back and then being received by the earth. As you start to shift towards the ball of your foot and open up again a little more of your lungs, a little more of your possibilities, a little more bounce in your step, a little more acceleration. Really good. Bend your knees deeply. If you don't like to come up with a spinal wave, you can come up with a flat back. Otherwise, let your head hang, your arms hang. Throw the knees forward. Keep throwing the knees forward, and then the thighs, and then the pubis, and then the belly, and roll all the way up to stand. Good. Send your palms forward. Broaden your collarbones. Good. I want you to take a couple breaths. And when you breathe in, take a big, full in-breath. And then when you exhale, I just want you to let everything drop. Let your jaw go, your shoulders go, a sigh. One more time. Big breath in. And let it go. We are habituated towards tension in the breath, towards gripping to the past. All of these things are connected. And every moment that we practice just exhaling and sloughing it off, letting the jaw go, is a little practice in moving out of that habituation. Take your hands behind your back and make 2 fists and plug them into one another. Start to open up a little bit of a back bend and open up some heat in the legs. I want you to think of your body like a giant hemisphere and send your pubis forward and back bend over your fists. And then start to send your buttock bones back, fold at your hip crease. Keep your hands just where they are, bellies to thighs, and lift your buttock bones. And now reverse that, belly to thighs, bend your knees, send your chest forward like you were reaching for the sunlight, throat forward all the way up to stand, pubis forward, and back bend. Again, bend the knees, send your buttock bones back. Keep folding over the legs, drop the crown of the head. As you breathe in, send your heart forward. Push through the feet, nice and powerful, pubis forward. One more time, bend the knees, sink the hips. Unfold it, chest forward. So good. And then pause at the top and let the arms hang. Give them a little swing side to side. You might even let your hands slap the body. Really good. Nice. And then pause in the center of yourself. Find steadiness in the feet again. And inhale, take your arms up. Exhale, hinge at your hip crease and fold down. Take your heart forward and breathe in. And exhale and step back to downward facing dog. Good. Lunge your right foot forward between your hands. Let your knee land where your heel lands and drop to your back knee. Uncurl the back toes, spread the back foot. Now get your knee all the way into your armpit and make a loose fist in your right hand. And now I want you to move the knee in the armpit from the hips, not because you're moving the armpit around the knee, which is another technique, but you're moving the hips to move the knee in the armpit. There's a lot of lymph in there. We really want it all the way inside like a ball in a mitt. So we're giving ourselves this little gentle lymphatic massage. And then change directions. I really use my asana practice for connection, for nourishing my glands and organs. For me, I like to keep my fitness separate. I still lift weights and do other things, and then I can really use my practice to simply tend to myself. Good. Pause back in the center once again. Reorganize it because we tend to lose form. Throw the knee forward, push into the ball of the right foot, and then rather than sinking too low, if you wish, take a block and plug it in. It's on the corner. I've got it balanced, and then I'm pushing the block into my thigh, and this keeps me from just sinking too low. So I'm throwing my thigh forward into the block. You can do the same. Interlace your hands behind your head. Hug your elbows towards the sky, pubis forward. So there's this sense of pursuing your own desires. We say the pubis is sniffing out a situation and sniffing out our personal desires. So send the whole of you forward into a hemisphere. So good. Another big breath. Really nice. Unfold that. Remove the block from under the thigh. Good. And then from here, we're going to hinge back. And I want you to keep the ball of the foot on the floor for now. The leg won't straighten all the way. And go forward and back a few times. I don't care how fast you do this. Just starting to open things up. And I'm staying in my hip crease and keeping full contact between my belly and my thigh. I invite you to play with that. The more points of contact that we have with ourselves, the more the currency can move, the more we're leveraging our personal geometry. Now start to let the foot come up so you can go back a little farther. You can play with curling the back toes under if you like. It's up to you. And now as you go back, start to kind of wiggle the hips side to side. See if you can scooch a little closer into yourself. Maybe in a couple rounds, scooching so far back that your bum goes all the way to your heel. Maybe, not required. And then come back forward again. And then hinge. Good, moving in and out of that shape. I'm going to invite you, if you wish, to take your hands up. And as you play here, swing back. I don't care what this looks like. And now turn it into a hemisphere. So go all the way around yourself. Big swoop. And I don't care which direction you go. You can play with reversing it. If this is too challenging, keep your hands on the ground. Move the breath and spin around yourself. If you lose your balance, no big deal. One more time. So fun. Feels so good. Good. And then the next time you're back, just stay for a moment. Fold. Lean in. Very good. Lift yourself back up and step back to down dog. If you wish, some kind of vinyasa situation. I'm just taking an up dog with my toes curled under. And then drop in the down dog again. Find your feet, bend your knees, lift your buttock bones high, plug the palms in, and tune to your breath. And lunge your left foot. Again, knee lands where the hand lands. Drop to your back knee, uncurl the back toes. And spread the back foot. Get your knee in your armpit, a very light fist, no gripping. And then move your hips to stir the knee in the armpit. It's really coming from the lower body. The more we use the ground of being, it frees up everything else. The imagination, the ability. Change directions. So good. Very nice. Beautiful. And then pause in the center of yourself. So because we were moving around, we've probably unraveled the form. So make sure everything is set up still. You're in the ball of the front foot, back foot is spread, and then take a block if you have it and plug it into the thigh. There's such a tendency to go deep all the time, and most of us need volume, not more depth. Send the pubis forward, send your arms up, take the opposite interlace behind your head, throw your right thigh forward into the block, push into the ball of the left foot. You might even be able to lift your heel up. And think potential, lungs, breath, opening out of the ground of being, up through your imagination. You like a giant sphere. Good, one more big breath. So nice. Unravel that, remove the block. And then, just like before, start to hinge, keeping the left foot on the floor for now. Go slow. Just coaxing, sort of seducing yourself into the shape. In and out. And then when that's feeling more accessible, let the foot lift now. So you're rocking onto your heel. And you might stop at the back and kind of wiggle your hips left and right. And then forward. And then hips back, left and right. Seeing if in time you can start to slide your bum all the way back onto your heel. And then when that's feeling good, that sphere again. And I'm just taking a light grip on my hands all the way up to the top. Big side bend, a little back bend, and play with making a big sphere around yourself. And notice which direction you like to go and which way you don't like to go. And a couple more big circles, big spheres around yourself. So good. When you've had enough of that, bring your hands down and step back. Down dog. Bend your knees, buttock bones high if you wish. Some kind of vinyasa situation. So good. Walk your hands forward to your feet. Separate your feet hip distance apart, fists between the arches, hang again. If you have a blanket, grab it. And take the blanket and fold it up. Somehow mine came undone this last 20 minutes or so. And slide it under your heels. So good. That's it. And then pick up your heels so that your knees are in your armpits, you're in the balls of your feet, your buttock bones are high. Let your head go. Broaden your collarbones. This is one option. Another option is to cross your right arm behind your left leg, your right leg, pardon me, and grab your left shin with your right hand, and then braid the left hand behind the left leg. Grab the right shin. Lift your bum. Let your head go. Widen your sitting bones, gently pigeon toe the heels. And get very close to yourself. Another moment. So beautiful. Well done. Undo that clasp. And then find a little squat. If you've been around me for a while, you know that I'm a big advocate of making sure you do this pose every single day. Bring your elbows to the insides of your knees, fingertips together. Stretch the calves. Try to lift your chest. It's deeply nourishing. It's a very natural position for the body, and it will help you for the rest of your life to be able to get up off of the ground. Important pose. Let's take a little spinal twist here. Right hand to the inside of right leg. Left arm high, just spin it open. Nice, simple, relatively short practice today. Good. Left hand to the inside of left leg, right arm high. We really love to make things complicated, and I'm a huge fan of ritual and of ceremony, and I think sometimes we overcomplicate things, and what we really need is just a few minutes with our breath, a few simple poses to pump the blood and open up our joints and to cozy up to ourselves. And when we keep things simple, it makes it more accessible in the day-to-day so that we don't disregard the whole practice just because we don't have 90 minutes to do the thing that we think we're supposed to do. Good. Lower your seat down. Very nice. Okay. So remove that blanket out from underneath of you. You'll need a couple blocks here. We're going to play in the realms of a supported back bend that then is going to turn into a slightly deeper back bend. And there's different ways you can play this. I'm going to ask you to watch something for just one moment so that you're not confused when we do this. And you can always skip this part. But if you choose to do it, you might need a little visual. So I'm going to slide the two blocks underneath of my sacrum. And we'll do some stuff in this supported bridge. But in the progression of the bridge, if you wish, I'll ask you to walk your feet in, and then we'll come onto the tops of the feet and we'll hang out here for a moment. And then this is the fun part. You're going to grab your heels, your feet if you wish, and start to slide forward into this really fun back bend where the blocks are supporting the sacrum, and then we'll sit up. So that's going to be an option in a moment. So if you wish, otherwise I'll guide you through some alternatives, okay? But come onto your back now. Balls of the feet, lift yourself up and put the two blocks on New York City height, their highest height, underneath of your sacrum. And first just plant the feet flat. And then take your hands up over your head and flip the palms so the armpits are really coming towards the sky and you're up on your fingertips, rotated and opening up. If you don't like that one, you can play Opposite palm to opposite elbow, opening up a window. Lengthen your pubic bone away from you and drop into your breathing. The position of an inhale, which is your expansion, and your inspiration is a back bend. The position of your relaxation, of your letting go, of your exhale is a forward fold. So use this shape that is in the body now to expand. Maybe take bigger in-breaths. Maybe retain them for just a moment at the top, like you were blowing up a balloon. Belly and lungs, the rib cage. Very good. And then first option here that we'll all play with, take your right knee in and then start to wiggle your left foot away from you, straightening the left leg as much as you want and the right knee moving gently in. So we're just playing little gentle back bend, opening up the hip flexor here. And again, fill yourself with breath. Use this body position of inhale to fill. So good. And then slide the left knee in and switch. Crawl the right foot away from you, opening up the hip flexor. Beautiful. Both knees in now. You can hold the blocks if this feels unsteady for you and take your legs up to the sky. Give yourself a moment here to sort of let the feet, I know they're up in the air, but hang. So you're really just letting the femur descend into the socket. It's nice and weighted. Another place to play here is to take eagle legs. So wrapping the right thigh over the left Garudasana legs. And then this is very small. You can hold the blocks if you wish, or you can take the arms out to the side. A very small spinal rotation. Take the knees to the left. Be careful, not so far that you knock the blocks over. Definitely need sturdy blocks if you're choosing this option. And then knees over to the right. Very gentle. If you feel too unsteady, you can hold the blocks for a little more security. Good. Back up to the center. Maybe dip the toes away from you for a moment. Play with that and back up. These are just options, not required. Switch the cross of the legs. And then same thing, knees to the left in your little eagle twist. A little gentle restorative moment. And then knees to the right. And then back to the center of yourself. Undo that and bring your feet to the floor. So you're either going to just stay here and enjoy another moment in the back bend, or walk your feet in as close as you can and then flip yourself onto the top of your feet. Send your knees away from you and really open up and stretch ankles, tops of feet. You can put your fists into the arch of the foot. You can grab your heels like a ball in a mitt. And now if you're in bridge on the blocks, you'll lift your hips and remove the blocks, lowering your seat down, and we'll meet you in a minute. If you wish, start to drop the knees towards the floor now, and then grab your heels, elbows in, let your head hang, and drop back into this variation of a Virasana. And if you took that back bend, gently sit yourself up. So good. Take the blocks out of the way. A little flush there and come back onto your back once again. If you're already on your back, we'll meet you there. Very nice. Take a nice simple twist. Take your arms out to the shape of a T or a goalpost, and then bring your knees up and over to the right. Any variation of a twist is fine. Turn your head to the left. Just a few very simple poses to address your chemistry. 2 more breaths here. Let every breath be full and complete and sort of just sweep the mind. Nice and easy. Knees to the left. Head to the right. Nice, gentle, steady movement of the breath. Here, one side is restricted. You could play with the esoteric dialogue of one lung feeding the opposite kidney and cross-reference yourself if you wish. Get really present. You breathe approximately 20 to 30,000 times a day, and if you make 1% of those conscious, that is 200 moments a day that you are more aware and awake, that you are practicing consciousness. Very nice. Bring the knees back up to the center. Hug them into your chest and give yourself a little happy baby. Knees towards armpits. Stack the feet over the knees. Lengthen the tailbone away from you. Very good. Bring the soles of your feet to the ground. Rather than a shavasana, I'm going to do a breath practice here and then one seated. And if you wish, afterwards, you can lay back down on your own and nourish yourself with a few minutes in shavasana. Bring your hands to your belly and let your knees just point towards the sky, feet are down. As I said, the motion of the in-breath is the arch. So dip your pubic bone away from you so that the hole under your back is getting bigger. And now exhale and imprint your lower back in the mat. Tilt your pubic bone towards your navel so you're like making a bowl in the belly. So that's our movement pattern, but I'm going to have you make that much smaller. And what's going to dictate how long you're moving and how big that movement is your breath. So I'm not asking you to control your breath, and this is very tricky, especially for yoga people. You're just attuning to yourself, because underneath of all of the surface confusions and the I don't know what I want and I don't know how to grow an apple orchard of my own is presence. And in that presence and in that quietude is your inner knowing. So I'm asking you to take the control off and to instead be a disciple of the breath rather than its disciplinary. So as your body breathes in, you'll arch your back by sending your pubic bone away from you. Belly will expand, and then as the body is ready to exhale, you're going to help that motion, that breath, by gently tilting the pubic bone towards you, imprinting lower back. So get very attuned to your breathing. And it's not that you're controlling the breath, you're letting the breath move at the pace it wants to, body fulfilling its need for oxygen, but you're using this motion in the body just by virtue of the motion in the body to expand the breath. Knowing that the arch of the back, spinal extension, is the position of inhale, of inspiration, of expansion. And the forward fold, spinal flexion as it is known, is the position, the body position of exhale, of contraction, of release and relaxation. Get very curious and very sensitive for just a couple more rounds. Rocking the pelvis. Good, and then let the motion go and just feel and attune to your breath. Try not to control it. Watch your breath like you are watching a lover. So curious, what parts of it have you not tasted or seen or looked at before? Might even feel the little tingling of the hairs in the nose like wind in the trees. Intimacy with the breath is intimacy with the self. And it's in that very quiet, spacious place that we can cultivate for ourselves, that we can reattune to our desires, we can listen to our intuition, rather than moving in this way we tend to, which is habituation towards chaos and worry and all these things. We're being numbed out. There's something very wild in that offering from the crone to plant an orchard of your own, from nothing, to cultivate and steward the seeds within. Nice and easy, bring yourself over to your left side, a little fetal position. Take a breath, and then use your right hand and gently sit yourself up. And grab a blanket to sit on, or a towel, whatever you have. Very simple practice. It's called 20 breaths. It's 4 breaths, continuous cycles of breath, no pause. I'm going to do it through my mouth. And on the 5th one, you take a big breath in and then a sigh and you let it go. I'm going to show you one time. We are going to do it 4 times in total. So it looks like this. That was one cycle. We're going to do 4 in total. You are going to do it at mostly your own pace, so don't worry too much about the pace I'm going. If breathing through your mouth gets uncomfortable, you can play with your nose. You can play with the speed. I don't want you to worry too much. Just experience and explore. Well, before we do that, just feel into yourself. Feel your present state. Feel the mind. Feel the body. Feeling self. And then we're going to begin. So 4 rounds of continuous breath. The 5th round, a big in-breath and a sighing exhale. Let's go. Big breath in. Sigh and let it out. Go right back in, second set. Big breath in, let it go. 3rd set, right back in. Big breath in. Exhale, sigh, let it go. One more time. Big breath in, biggest breath. Sigh, let it go. Let your shoulders go, let it all drop. Just feel. Breathe through your nose again, slow the breath, just feel the cascade of sensation, the clarity. You are not your surface confusions. The path that is already there that you might have been folded and shape-shifted into is not the path that is your own. There is an invitation, there is a crone rising from the caramel-colored mulch, that earthy, creative darkness, offering you an opportunity to grow an orchard that is all your own. Bow your chin, bring your hands in front of your heart center. Take another moment just to drop in. If you wish, I invite you to lay back down onto your back and rest in Shavasana. If you need to go, rub your palms together, nice and vigorous. Cup your palms over your eyes, fingertips on your hairline. Open your eyes behind your hands, letting in the dark. Release your palms, let in the light, and welcome back. Thank you so much for being here today. I'll see you next time.